go a few reasons that contribute to this phenomenon of why people follow bad leaders.
Yeah.
All right. So number one, I think this is I'm gonna try to go back and forth between like a leader's responsibility and the follower's responsibility. Number one, charismatic or manipulative tactics. There are some, for the most part, if you're in leadership, you possess some sort of like charismatic qualities that attract and influence people. Like without, like, I don't think like if you're tall, but you're like dumb, like you're probably not gonna make it as a leader, right?
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, what's funny, because I think the person you're thinking about, I wrote that in my notes, think whatever. But like they're skilled at persuasive language, appealing to emotions, and creating a sense of belonging or purpose. I see this often with bad leaders. They're very tribal, right? So they are the chief of this tribe, and they've placed themselves there, or they've over-spiritualized it, and God has placed them there. In addition, they use manipulative tactics such as exploiting vulnerabilities or creating dependency, which can make it easier for individuals to be drawn and controlled by such leaders. And they speak our language and say things in a way we never could. Think Trump.
Okay.
Someone who, in a moment where there was a demographic of people who felt like they were hurting, they were losing their job, he spoke their language and made an enemy. Like he said, oh, it's those illegals.
Yeah.
They're the issue. Built the wall. Simple phrase that was able to we understand what that means.
Yeah.
Whether it's physical, like that built the wall comes with a whole plethora of ideas and policies that we think would be good for us. And so he made it us versus them. I'm here for you. Let's go ahead and fight this together. Just follow me blindly. And here, so charismatic and manipulative tactics, bro. And I've seen this in the church often.
Oh, talk about it.
My goodness. Like appealing to emotion and creating a sense of belonging. Like, there are pastors that are just cunning, like smart at doing this, where their church is the safe haven and the place of refuge. And I'm not talking about like a spiritual refuge. And if your church has refuge in the name, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking in generalities here, where like, hey, this is a safe place because I've made it safe for you. And if you leave this place, you're going to be in danger. And you know those dangers that you're running from? Yeah. You're not going to encounter them here because I made sure to build a wall, whatever the boundaries are, to protect you. Bro, I've seen this over and over. How have you seen these charismatic and very manipulative tactics be played out by bad leaders?
Well, I mean, I've seen the spiritualization. I've seen a lot of spiritual language used to keep people like when they're burned out, when they're trying to maintain that control. Anytime you hear somebody like where they bring up all the things they've done for you, or there's like a list of things that haven't I done this or haven't we done this, when I mean, and that's why our leadership development is really around like, you want to be around leaders that are like, I want to help you actually become everything you were created to be while we're doing this work, that they're for you. But when they're when it's really just about the maintaining the power of the church or the growth of the church, and then the top of that growth and the main tool we use for that is the leader, like that's where it gets really dangerous, because then everybody else is around there to support that leader and their vision. And that's just, I think, a dangerous place to be for people. So I've seen things like that, but I also have a disconnect from some of this. Okay. Because I think it's part of my personality. I'm not great with authority. You know what I mean? I'm not, and I've gotten to be the leader. Yeah. So I've either been under people but then God led me to lead my own stuff. So I've always been that top person. Mm-hmm. And then I've always tried to be like, but I see how it works in other areas. The other big thing that messed it up for me is almost every leader that I was under pastor has fallen to like sexual sin. Has like messed up. So I'm like, not every single one, but a lot of them. And I'm like, and I'm watching them and I'm like, dude, okay, I don't want to be like that. So what are the things? But I've never, I don't have the sting of the disappointment that other people have when they've raised up somebody and then that person's fallen or messed up or hurt somebody. But what trips me out is when those leaders do that kind of stuff and those people still follow them. And I'm like, what? And you know, there's all this language in this. Well, he's a good guy. And I'm like, no, he's not a good guy. He's a predator. I don't understand. Why can't you just say that? And it's hard for them to say that because of all the great things God did.
Yeah.
So they're like, but, you know, I remember with the Bill Hybels thing at Willow Creek, the women who were abused, like, they were like, why didn't you say anything? And that's not just there, but other places. And they'll say, I didn't want to mess up what God was doing here. So there had to be some like manipulative, like language and conversation around that, or that was told to them, or it was inferred. But that's ridiculous, dude. You can't mess up what God's doing.
Yeah.
Like when you bring up the truth and do what's right. No, God's good in that. But the idea that if I ruin this man, usually it's a man, or if I ruin this leader's reputation, even though it was their choice to ruin it in the first place.
Right.
But if I do that, it's going to hurt the work of God. And I'm here to say, no, that is the work of God.